All right, we're about to tackle the biggest question of them all. But we're not just going to look in the usual places, like ancient philosophy. Nope. We're going to search for an answer in the very fabric of the universe itself.
Why are we here? What's this all for? I mean, you've probably asked yourself that at some point, right? This question has echoed through human history. It's this constant hum beneath the surface of our lives. It's a fundamental part of being human, to look up at the stars and wonder where we fit in.
And for as long as we've been asking, we've been trying to draw maps to navigate this huge mystery. We've come up with countless philosophical, scientific, and theological explanations, and each one offers a different path to understanding.
But what if we've been starting in the wrong place this whole time? What if, to understand our purpose, we first have to understand what reality is on a fundamental level? That's the journey we're taking today, from the world of ideas to the nitty-gritty world of physics.
Okay, so first, let's just ground ourselves in a little history. This question isn't some modern invention. It's a quest that has pretty much defined us for centuries.
So while ancient philosophers like Socrates were telling us to lead an examined life, the actual phrase, the meaning of life, is, believe it or not, surprisingly modern. A guy named Thomas Carlyle was the first to use it in print way back in 1833. But it was really Arthur Schopenhauer who put the question right in the spotlight, asking, what is the meaning of life at all? A question that, still hits home for us today.
In response to this massive question, humanity has developed some absolutely incredible frameworks for finding purpose. So let's just explore a few of them really quickly. The ancient Greeks gave us this awesome concept called eudaimonia. Now, for Aristotle, this wasn't just about feeling happy, like in the moment. It was about flourishing. Think of a plant that has everything it needs to grow strong and healthy. It was about living a life of virtue and excellence, which he saw as the ultimate goal in and of itself.
Then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you've got nihilism, this idea that life has no objective meaning or built-in value. But for philosophers like Nietzsche, this wasn't a reason to despair. Far from it. It was a call to action, a challenge for us to create our own values in a world that doesn't hand them to us.
This chart just gives us a glimpse of all the diverse paths people have carved out trying to find meaning. You've got the Stoics, who looked inward, trying to find harmony through reason. The existentialists looked outward, creating meaning through their actions. Secular humanists focused on our shared humanity, while Buddhists sought to transcend suffering altogether. What's so fascinating is that even though the paths are all different, they all seem to point to this idea that meaning is something we have to actively create or discover for ourselves.
But here's the thing. All of these frameworks, as profound as they are, they share this one hidden assumption that we actually understand the world we're trying to find meaning in. What if that assumption is just wrong? This is the crucial point, the pivot. What if our everyday perception of reality is just an illusion? A thin veneer over something far, far stranger and more interconnected. To find our place in the cosmos, maybe we first need to figure out what the cosmos actually is. So let's do it. Let's peel back the layers of reality. We're going to start with the familiar world of our senses, then we'll dive down into the atomic realm, and finally, we'll take a trip into the strange and wonderful world of quantum physics, where the rules of reality as we know them completely break down. Okay, so this is our home turf, the world of our everyday experience. It's a world of solid, separate things, governed by the predictable laws of classical physics. A chair is a chair, a rock is a rock, everything feels solid, real. But as we're about to see, this is only the beginning of the story.
Now let's journey into the world within. And here's where things start to get really weird. When we look closer, that solid, substantial world we thought we knew, it just dissolves. At the atomic level, the matter we thought was so real turns out to be almost entirely empty space.
So by firing these tiny particles at a thin sheet of gold foil, a scientist named Ernest Rutherford discovered that atoms are mostly empty, with a tiny, dense nucleus at the center and these little electrons orbiting it like planets around a sun. So what makes your chair feel solid right now? It's not because it's made of solid stuff. It's the electromagnetic force between the atoms in your body and the atoms in the chair pushing against each other. You're not actually sitting on a solid object, you're levitating on a force field. How cool is that?
But we can go deeper. We can go deeper still to the final, most fundamental layer of reality. A universe where the line between matter and energy just blurs into nothing.
Welcome to the quantum realm. Down here, the solid, predictable world we know just vanishes. The fundamental building blocks of our universe aren't tiny, solid balls.
They exist as these shimmering clouds of possibility, where the distinction between a solid particle and a spread-out wave completely ceases to exist.
This right here is the core mystery of quantum mechanics. It's called wave-particle duality. An electron isn't either a particle or a wave. It's somehow both at the same time, existing as this wave of probability. It's only when we look at it, when we observe it, that this wave collapses, and it decides to act like a particle with a definite position. It's bizarre.
So if particles are just these collapsed waves, what are the waves made of? Well, quantum field theory gives us an answer that is absolutely breathtaking. As this slide says, the most fundamental things in the entire universe aren't the particles themselves, but the invisible, all-pervading fields they spring from.
Just let that sink in for a second. Every single electron in the universe is just a little ripple, an excitation, and one single universe-spanning electron field. Every quark is a ripple in a quark field. So you are not a collection of separate solid things. You are a complex pattern of vibrations, a symphony of ripples on the surface of these fundamental cosmic fields.
Okay, wow. So after that deep dive into the heart of reality, let's bring it all back home. How does this totally new understanding of the universe reframe our original question about meaning? It's this fascinating moment where ideas just collide. The deepest insights of modern physics, that we are all just patterns of vibration on these universal fields, they seem to echo the most profound statements of ancient mysticism. This famous line from the Hindu Upanishads, Tat Twam Asi, it literally means, you are that. It's a declaration of unity, that your individual self isn't separate from the ultimate reality of the cosmos. Science, through a totally different path, has kind of arrived at a similar conclusion. You are not in the universe, you are the universe.
And so, we're left with a whole new perspective. Maybe the meaning of life isn't an answer to be found, but a role to be played. If reality is this ceaseless, interconnected dance of energy, and you are an integral, inseparable part of that dance, then the most meaningful question we can ask ourselves is this: what contribution will you make to the cosmic symphony? What will be your part in the dance? The choice, ultimately, is yours.